One. Hey, and welcome here to our part of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. I'm here with a special guest, Dadi Nicolas, former linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes.
And we're just so thrilled to have you here, Dadi, both with Sterling and
Likewise.
myself. First of all, just like, how are you doing these days? I'd love to start kind of in the present with, can you tell us how you're doing and even like what you're up to these days?
Okay, so first thing first, thank you, Matt, and thank you, Arrowhead Addicts, just for having me on this platform. So basically, I would say these days I am currently interviewing with Edward Jones and JP Morgan. I'm trying to get into a financial advisor position at this point. I just finished my book. It's called The Ugly Truth That Made My Beautiful Soul. So that's another thing that I just finished, hoping to get that published pretty soon. And with that being said, man, just living the dream.
Wait, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like this whole idea of, like, have you had the idea to write a book for a while? Does that idea go far back for you? And have you been working on that for some time?
Well, pretty much I would like to say that I feel like my whole life was it's a special. I mean, everyone has their story. Everyone has their own story. And but for me specifically, I believe that for a long time, I've kind of ran away from my story, right? I was kind of like trying to create a new life, right? While being motivated from where I came from, right? And even going through the process, I remember being in the combine where, scouts had these particular things about my life where I didn't have a full grasp. I didn't have a full grip on these specific facts of my life at the time. And once, football started to slow down and I was dealing with life after football, I had time to reflect, right? I had time to soul search, right? And that's how where that came about. But to answer your question, as a writer, I believe like journaling always been a thing for me. I always enjoyed doing that. It's always been fun for me. So yeah.
So what's it like? Because you mentioned the NFL Combine. You have people talking about you and trying to say your story, people that don't really know you. How difficult is it in that scenario? You have people, you might have never even talked to them before, and they're trying to paint a picture of who you are as a person. They're trying to say, this guy's this guy is that. Is this your chance to tell your side of the story? This is your chance to get your story, your unique experience out there?
Indeed, it is. As a matter of fact, take it back to my creative writing teacher. That was a course that was taught by Nikki Giovanni at Virginia Tech. And I remember one time after the game, right, there was this particular game, Ohio State versus Virginia Tech. It was a big upset, right? And I had a phenomenal game, right? I mean, if I would have left that year, easily first or second round, easily, in my mind, right? With a 4.4 combine, that's what I ran in the spring at that time. But, moving on, focusing on what we're talking about. Yes, one thing that she said to me and that stood out to me was, make sure you have the pen when telling your story, right? Because I've all my life, right, or anybody that's been in this position, right, as a professional athlete, or even to take a step back as a student athlete, right? You always have, people writing about you, have bits, and it's a different message when it's your own voice, right? And so that always resonated with me, and it always stuck in the back of my mind. And I finally took her up on that. So that's how I went about writing my book, for sure.
That's great.
Yeah, I do believe that I have been misunderstood for a lot of my life, and at the same time, I didn't even have a grip on who I was, as a person as well. And I'm still figuring myself out, right? That's a part of life, right?
Mhm.
With that being said, but it's totally, my foundation is totally different. Like, we talk about mental health, right? We talk about mental health today in these days, but I believe that mental health is something that I've been dealing with. I'm speaking for me only, and I believe that that's been a challenge for me my whole life. Right? You're talking to, and like we'll bring it back to the combine, right? We're talking about a person, a young man that first met his biological, or first before we do that, we'll talk about a young man that played 1 year high school football, right? That got an opportunity to go to Virginia Tech, right? And take another step further, or before that, before even getting to Virginia Tech, that very spring semester, before doing so, before earning that scholarship, is when I met my biological mother, at the age of 17. So there was a lot of things that was running through my mind and my world, even though, in hindsight, or it was like living the dream, So taking
Yeah.
it back to another thing, Coach Beamer used to always say, you have to have things off the field correct in order to have everything good on the field, So and it's true.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot. That's like a powerful story or a lot going
Right.
on, just even in like, because you're still very young, but there's like
I'm
a lot of,
29 years old.
still a good story to tell there. Um,
Hmm. I
Dad,
appreciate.
yeah, Dad, you were referencing the combine. You were referencing this pre-draft period. A lot of kids are in that right now. Like,
Right.
how much do you remember your own emotions? Like, how was that for you? Like, college is like finally behind you, and now like trying to make this leap happen. That's the dream of every kid when they're so young. Like, do you remember how that was for you?
Right. It was definitely an exciting slash scary time, exciting from the standpoint of like finally, having the opportunity to embrace this challenge, to make the best of it, and then at the same time battling, do I actually have what it takes, right? So my message to anybody that's going through that right now, you do, right? You definitely do. That's why you're in the position that you are. Believe in yourself. You know, I remember my first game, right? I remember my first preseason game, and I'm still going through that same mental cycle of like, do I got what it takes to play in an NFL game? I remember Derek Johnson, shout out to DJ, right? He was saying like, um, you know, you got what it takes, man. Keep the game simple. It's like being in the backyard, right? Because there's a reason why you're here, and that same mentality is important during these times because it's just an interview. It's just an interview, and all these people that are approaching you, it's because they are intrigued by you. So it's more of a compliment versus, hey, I gotta be here and I have to prove myself. So at a young age, where I was at mentally and where I was in my life, I felt like, hey, I had something to prove. Whereas really you need to show up as who you are and build a relationship, right? And that's what it is.
Hmm. Can you take us into draft day itself? Do you remember getting the call from the Chiefs, and
Yeah.
who's on the other side of that call, and what are they saying?
I love that you asked that question. It's a great question. John Dorsey, right?
Okay.
Uh, for me, the greatest GM ever, right? Just in every aspect. But to answer your question specifically, I was I was grateful, but I was mad at the same time, right? I was outraged, right? Reason why I felt like at the time I felt like there's no way that I was taken at that point of the draft, right? I felt like I had so much potential. I don't know. I just felt, I don't know if I was just on my high horse, but it was just definitely a humbling moment. Um, and I know that, you know, we go back to this mental health things and I've been misunderstood for a lot of my life slash career type thing. But then again, I had my own mental battles that I was fighting, and I showcased that in different ways that probably looking back I could have done different with me having a loving foundation. So yeah, that's how I would answer that. So, but at the end of the day, I was definitely grateful to if we could take it back, if I could change anything, I wouldn't, because that was like the best opportunity, the greatest team to have landed with. I'm so grateful from like top to bottom, you know. I'm so appreciative of that opportunity. So I wouldn't change a thing, you know, just based off of the experience that I had and the people that I got to meet, you know. Even leaving the organization, it was a misunderstanding there, right? Because I was so brokenhearted. Like for me, like I seen that I was gonna retire there. Like there's no way that I was gonna go anywhere else. Like there's no way, you know, I loved the defense. I loved everybody from top to bottom till today. You know, I have no issues. I love everybody there. And that's what it was. That's why it broke my heart. And I couldn't even say goodbye, right? Because you know, I was known as like, you know, a force to reckon with, right? And when they traded me, because that's what happened at first, I got traded to the Browns, right? Um, I was just so hurt. I was just so hurt, and I literally, I had tears then coming down my eyes, and I couldn't stop it. I couldn't, like, I literally tried to stop it, like to, you know, put another face on, you know, to just be say my goodbyes, but I couldn't. Like I really couldn't, because I built relationships with everybody from top to bottom, like the Hunt family. I'm talking to everybody, you know, and you know, I even want to shout out the Hunt family for the opportunity, you know, Dorsey for being the greatest GM. If I had anything to say about it, you know, even Ballard, you know, Chris Ballard, shout out to him, you know, just a great man. And, you know, I remember getting hurt and him just reaching out, taking, you know, bringing me to his office and just, you know, giving me words of encouragement, even inviting me to his house for dinner. You know, I'm so grateful for that. And even, you know, even for the opportunity with the Colts, right? I wanna shout out to even Brett Veach, right? Um, um, you know, I think that me and Veach, we had a weird little situation there when I misunderstood him. You know, I took it personal. I definitely took it personal. I didn't take it as a business like I was speaking on before. And there was even an instance when I did something where I took my name off the board, but didn't even know what that meant, right, at the time, just because it was like, hey, this is like a souvenir of this moment. But I definitely think it was more political than anything. So with that being said, I want to shout out to Coach Reed as well. You know, greatest coach, I believe, greatest coach ever in the league, man. Just an amazing man, you know, just phenomenal person in general, you know, took me under his wing. It was just a great mentor, you know, just a great person, man. I have nothing but great things to say about him. Even Coach Eric Benemy, right? I don't understand why he's not a head coach right now. I think he definitely has the juice, definitely more than capable of doing so, right? Even Coach Bob Sutton, right? Greatest defense. Like I thought that defense was the best defense for me to showcase my talents, and definitely just enjoyed, you know, learning that system, right? Because I was transitioning from a defensive lineman to a linebacker, right? When I came to the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And I want to shout out even Coach Gary Gibbs, right? My condolences to his family. It broke my heart to hear the news, and just a phenomenal person as well, you know. and that showcases the whole kingdom, the whole Chiefs organization, right? Even here, let me see. I got my notes here. You know, I came more than ready, right? Even shout out to Coach Emmett Thomas, right? The legend. His name speaks for itself, right? For the kingdom, right? Just Hall of Fame, right? So, Coach Al Harris as well, and Coach Tobe, special teams coach, you know, who I tried to make something special happen before I hurt my knee, right? That last game. So that was like, that was where I hurt my knee as a, you know, as a special teams warrior out there in LA. I was trying to make a big play happen, and it was just a freak accident, right? Shout out to Rick, you know, the head trainer of the staff, and then Coach Ruben, right? The strength and conditioning coach, and the whole weight room staff. It was like they were like my best friends out there, right? And the whole equipment staff, even the janitors, you know, just great people. And that's it, man. We can continue. I just had to pay my respects because, like I said, when I left the organization, I took it so personal that I never got a chance to actually, you know, pay my respects to anybody that was in that building, which, you know, I felt like they deserved that, you know, based off of the relationships that we've built.
Yeah, I think it's so, you put it very well, especially at the time. Football is a business. Fans have an easier time recognizing it because they're not playing. They're not involved in these day-to-day decisions. They're not involved. They see what happens on Madden or fantasy football. I think sometimes fans have a very, not always, but maybe a little diluted sense of what actually goes on. And just what you said, bringing the human element, the human aspect of the game and what it really is like in a front office, in a team, in an organization, to me is so impactful. But you still have these high praises of Kansas City, even though you were in other stops around the NFL. Was it 5 other stops? But you still have these high praises for Kansas City. What did they do differently than these other teams? What did they do that separates them, that you like to give your high praises to, that makes them different from these other teams?
I mean, you just said it, right? I was just speaking as from a player's perspective, right? And, you know, you talk about what makes it special, you know, from a player, you know, you just hit it on the head, right? You talk about the fans, you know, the kingdom is second to none, you know. You know, how they embraced me, you know, that's even more reason why I just seen myself, you know, wanting to do so much more than what I did, right? I felt like I just scratched the surface, right? I didn't do anything worthy enough to brag about, right? For me to be remembered by, right? Because it was just potential that was showed, right? But just like the fans, the staff, you know, just everybody, the city, you know, it was just amazing, right? The support, like the kingdom reminds me of Hokie Nation a little bit, right? In terms of the support, like I've been to these top colleges where the support wasn't really there, right? The support wasn't really there, even though we had these games with these opponents and their stadium not filled out. But there's no time where we'll be in the kingdom and everyone's not there. So I would say just the support, the family atmosphere. That's what it is.
That's great. Hey, Daddy, one more for you. I'm curious how much of a fan you are of today's game and of the Chiefs today. Like, are you an active fan of the NFL and watching the Chiefs in particular, or like what does fandom look like for you, and how much are you involved, invested?
Yeah, it's crazy to even be on this side of the game, right? But indeed, it's a reality, and you see me wearing red right now, so you know that goes to tell you right now how I'm feeling, you know. So with that being said, you know, for all I'm concerned, you know, like Tomba used to always say, once a chief, always a chief, right? So with that being said, there's no other organization that I can pay my dues and my respect to other than the chief. So yes, I am actively watching these our brothers, right? My brothers and the whole organization. I'm just, they're just making me proud because I've always seen this and I just always wanted to be a part of it. Even today, right? Even today, I feel like I am more than capable to help. So yes, if the question is, am I a Chiefs fan? Being on this side of the game, I am. I am.
Right on, right on. Daddy, if Chiefs Kingdom wants to follow you now or know what's going on with you, where can they follow you on social media and anything else you want to tell us about, like what you have in the works or ways that people can kind of keep track of what you're up to?
Okay. Well, like I said, I mentioned my book. The Ugly Truth that made my beautiful soul. I'm done with the book. It's just a matter of getting it published, and I'm working on that. So with that being said, I'm on different platforms such as Instagram. When it comes to Instagram, it's under Zoera at ZOEERA. And then on Twitter, I'm at YYBAQB. And there's a funny story about that as well. But that's where you can find me along with that. And I'm going through the interview process with Edward Jones right now, and JP Morgan as becoming a financial advisor as well. So, so that's where I am right now at this point in my life.
Love it, love it. Well, hey, good luck to you on the interviews coming up, and
Right.
as you shop the book around. Daddy, thanks so much for taking a few minutes out and chatting with us today, man. It's been great to hear from you.
Indeed. Thank you for having me, Matt. And, everyone else.
Yeah, you got it, man. You got it.
All
Thanks
right.
again.
All right, brother. Bye.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good stuff.